Right now, in your pocket, there is a device that knows exactly where you are. It knows which direction you're facing. It knows how far you are from home, down to the meter. You have never once had to wonder if you were lost. But for most of human history, none of that existed. No satellites, no paper, no compass, and yet your ancestors crossed entire oceans, deserts, and ice sheets and found their way home. The real answer is far stranger than they used the stars. Start with a question. How do you cross 2,000 miles of open Pacific Ocean in a wooden canoe with no instruments and land on an island so small it is a pinprick on a map? This is not a hypothetical. This happened repeatedly, thousands of years before Europeans built ships that could survive a serious storm. Polynesian voyagers were doing exactly this on purpose and arriving where they intended to arrive. Their method is called wayfinding. It sounds mystical. It was not. It was one of the most rigorous observational sciences ever developed by a human society, and it lived entirely inside the human mind. Consider the stars first. A wayfinder memorized the rising and setting points of over 200 stars along the horizon. Not their positions in the sky, their positions at the edge of the world, where they touched the horizon line. Each star became a kind of signpost. As one star rose too high to be useful, the navigator would already know which star was next in line to take its place. This is called a star compass, and it existed only in memory, passed from teacher to student over years of training. Mistake a single star for another, and you could miss an island by hundreds of miles. There was no room for guessing. But stars are only useful on clear nights. What happened when clouds rolled in? The ocean itself became the map. Waves do not move randomly. They form in consistent patterns generated by distant weather systems and by the islands themselves. Islands disturb wave patterns long before you can see them, sometimes from over 30 miles away. A trained navigator could lie down in the hull of a canoe and feel the rhythm of the water through the wood. Not just see it, feel it. A shift in the rocking pattern meant land was near, even in total darkness, even under a sky thick with cloud. This is where the story gets genuinely strange. In 1965, an anthropologist named David Lewis set out to document these techniques before they vanished. He sailed with Pacific navigators who used no instruments at all, and he confirmed something remarkable. Their accuracy over distances of 1,000 miles or more was often comparable to early European navigational tools. Not because their tools were better, because their minds had been trained from childhood to treat the natural world as a continuous stream of directional information. Birds mattered too. Certain seabirds fly out to sea each morning to fish and return to land each evening. A navigator who spotted one of these birds late in the day could follow its flight path home because the bird was doing exactly that. Cloud formations mattered. A stationary cloud on an otherwise clear horizon often meant an island was heating the air beneath it, creating a visible marker from far away. Even the color of the water mattered since it shifts subtly near reefs and shallows. None of this was written down. It could not be. There was no alphabet used for this purpose in most of these cultures, and even if there had been, writing would have missed the point entirely. This knowledge lived in chant, in song, in physical training, passed from a master navigator to an apprentice over 10 or 20 years. A researcher named Ben Finney helped revive these methods in the 1970s by building a replica voyaging canoe, the Hokulea, and sailing it from Hawaii to Tahiti using only traditional wayfinding. It worked. The canoe arrived within a day of the projected landfall, guided by a navigator named Maupiailog, one of the last people alive who still held this complete body of knowledge. Now step away from the ocean. Your ancestors on land faced a different problem, but solved it with a similar instinct. Long before written maps, humans across Siberia, the Arctic, and the deserts of Australia navigated using something researchers now call cognitive maps, mental models built from repeated movement through a landscape. Aboriginal Australian communities developed songlines, extended oral narratives that encoded travel routes across thousands of miles of desert. A songline was not just a story, it was a sequence of landmarks, water sources, and directional cues embedded into rhythm and melody so it could be memorized precisely and passed down without error for generations. Walk while singing the correct verse. And the song itself told you where the next water source was, how far away it's at, and what direction to turn. This is not folklore dressed up as science. Researchers studying oral tradition, including linguist Lynn Kelly, have shown that these memory systems are extraordinarily precise, often more reliable over long time scales than written records, because song and rhythm resist the kind of copying errors that plague handwritten text. So how does a mind that has never seen a satellite image build something this accurate? Here is the answer, and it is the part that should genuinely surprise you. Your brain is not simply capable of this kind of spatial reasoning. It is built for it. In 2014, neuroscientist John O'Keefe, along with May Britt Moser and Edward Moser, won the Nobel Prize for discovering specialized brain cells dedicated entirely to spatial navigation. Place cells fire when you are in a specific location. Grid cells fire in a repeating pattern that essentially lays an internal coordinate system across your surroundings. Your brain has been quietly building a map of your world since before you could speak, using the exact same neural machinery that once guided a canoe across open ocean or a walker across a trackless desert. Modern life gave that machinery almost nothing to do. GPS took over the job so completely that studies on London taxi drivers who once had to memorize the city's entire street layout by heart found measurable growth in their hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory, compared to drivers who simply followed a screen. Use it and it grows, outsource it and it goes quiet. This is the real reframe. Ancient wayfinding was not primitive. It was not a lesser version of a map. It was a complete cognitive system, refined over thousands of years, that treated the entire environment. Stars, waves, wind, birds, memory, and song as a single integrated instrument. Your ancestors were not lost without maps, they were the map. And somewhere inside you, that same system is still running, quietly, underneath a phone that never lets it switch on. Right now, in your pocket, there is a device that knows exactly where you are.